not sure I'll get opening this cat.
Basketball Thursday, right here on the Lone Star Sports Show, brought to you by the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by FastMallSports.com. Here we are here in the heart of Texas, the heart of North Texas, right here in Oak Cliff, Texas. Getting it in on Basketball Thursday. Got a big day, big time, great time of the year, as I like to say all the time. Right now, we got some crazy stuff. We got some good stuff and some bad stuff. We got some crazy stuff and some sanity. Everything outside the lines is insanity, and inside the lines, I think we got the inside the lines figured out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the outside the lines that just never turn around. What is going on with Brian Coangelo.
I'm at a loss to understand what he thinks his benefit is. I mean, even when you identify yourself, I think you're a coward on social media. If you feel that strongly, say it to the person.
Well, it's like this. I mean, and I'm going to let it in on a personal life a little bit. Today, Tom and I played golf. And somewhere around about the turn, I looked over and said, this dude has to have some type of psychological, emotional instability. Anytime you take one of these deals right here and you go into a dark place and just you and the phone and you start doing crazy stuff, there's something funny going on there.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it really, truly is. I mean, I venture to say, how many tweets do I put out in a year? And I talk to kids, and sometimes I don't blame the kids, and a lot of times when I'm speaking to kids in camps and stuff, I say think before you tweet. A kid can act off emotions like that, but a general manager.
Well, part of my problem, what I was saying was, even if you identify yourself as yourself, I think it's a cowardly way to react. It's a cowardly way to date, to critique people, to everyone's, guys, young people out there, you're not a journalist because you have one of these. You're not a journalist.
Hey, good luck on that one.
Yeah, I know. But the whole point being, like we were talking when we play golf today, and I was talking about, I won't go into the specifics, but sometimes women will say something rude about a person's physique. And so I'm just saying, I'm just a truth teller. No, you're not a truth teller. You're just being rude.
Yep.
She doesn't need to hear that. You don't need to say it. It's not your job to tell everybody everything you think. And I don't understand what this guy would be doing. Your dad's the godfather of USA basketball. He can call Jerry West. You're almost unimpeachable, and you might have just become toxic.
Yeah.
Because who's going to hire a guy they don't trust? You're ripping on the people you work with.
And 13,900 tweets, according to the record right here on Twitter, right here. I have never chosen to go public in something that I was displeased about, especially in any type of personal situation. Even some of the crazy stuff that I see organizations do, I don't say crazy stuff about.
I told you, I think when we played golf, that I had a Facebook page for an hour and a half. I think me and Tony Kornheiser and Charles Barkley are the only three people in the history of the universe that still don't do social media, because first of all, I don't think that people care. I think it's pretentious to think they care, because they probably don't. No one cares what I'm having for breakfast or how my dog looks or where I'm on vacation. I think I might have just disconnected. There you go. I don't think people care, and I'm self-aware enough to think that. And then the other thing is, do I really want to go out and have 2 beers, 6 wings after a game and come back and watch some idiot tell me, guy who doesn't know anything about basketball, tell me I'm stupid? Man, I'm going to say something that'll cost me my job.
And that's the whole deal. Where do you choose to say what you choose to say it? I mean, that's the whole deal on it. But, it's smartphone dumb people. Everybody's screaming and hollering about guns. I hate what's going on with the mass killings and this, that, and the other.
Too.
But, not one gun has gotten a car and driven itself over to a school and decided to do what has taken place.
Right.
There are people behind stuff. But everybody wants to forgive the insanity and try to create some kind of environment that is going to be insulated from insanity. You can't insulate the environment from insanity. This dude is sick, man.
Yeah.
To be in a situation like he's in, done the job that they've done at Philadelphia, everything going the way you want it to go, and then you go pull a stunt like this?
Well, there are people that are self-destructive. Like I was trying to explain to someone the concept of self-loathing.
Yeah, can't get out of their own way.
There's no way that on earth that you can make me think on a rational level that going out and doing something against my best interest is something I do. But if you twist it emotionally, if you throw enough red meat out there like politics, you can get us fussing and fighting over stupid stuff, right? And at the end of the day, I shouldn't do anything that's against my best interest, but sometimes we do. Like, why would a person, like I grew up, my father's an alcoholic. I love my father. He hadn't had a drink in 40 years, right? But he's always been alcoholic, right? Why would a girl who grew up watching my dad do the fool-ass stuff he did turn around and marry an alcoholic? Why would a girl who watched abuse marry an abuser?
It can be cyclic. You
either have to break it or live it.
Yeah, right. And that's what most people do, break it or love it. But let's come back around to this guy right here. He's moving along, and maybe there are some internal things that we don't know anything about. But people say, well, like you're talking about not having a social media page or not doing this, not doing that. I had a Twitter account in 2008, 2009, and I didn't even touch it. It lay dormant. Steve Lux turned me on to Twitter. Never will forget. This is when Reebok was still alive, had a camp. Steve Lux may have been working at SMU at the time. And he told me, man, you got to get this stuff called Twitter. Go open an account. Look, I did it. I said, this is useless. I don't have time for this. Twitter still annoys me. It's a chore. It's a chore, just like taking out the trash, washing the dishes, going to the cleaners, unloading the dishwasher, all the things that have to be done. I have to go and look and see, is there anything here that I need to be aware of or create any type of response.
Have you ever been at work and you ask somebody how they're doing and they think you really mean it, but you didn't, and then they tell you how their job sucks and they're not happily married, their truck broke down? Well, then get divorced, get a new truck, and get a new job. Don't whine to me about it, right? And there's the same thing. It's like, I wouldn't tell you the things were messed up in my personal life. Why would I go online and say it? Why would I go tell? I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. I spent most of my life trying to make sure you don't know what I'm doing, not tell you what I'm doing. Right. Jesus, man.
I mean, it's just a weird deal, man. I just have no understanding about it. And,
I think it's cowardly. It's very cowardly.
Well, I mean, there's a thing going on here, and this is one thing that I want to throw out there, especially the young people, because I mean, the biggest part of what I do is to benefit young people. It's hard to change an old fool, but with young people, to understand if technology is this advanced on your side of the process, how advanced is it on the part of the side that you don't understand? Geofencing, ability to track, understand what's going on. The connecting dots right now, they
Cambridge Analytics stuff that was going on with the Olympics, or I mean with the election type of stuff.
Right, yeah. I mean, you can sit and track and see where this happened, when it happened, how it happened. And that's what they're doing, is connecting dots. They've tied the phone numbers back over, and now he's pulling a smart move and blaming his wife, and maybe his wife went out there. He may wiggle out of this. Right. But you know what? The one thing about it is when you wiggle out of something, people don't forget. And if he has a real issue, a real problem, it'll show up again.
You ever watch the movie Traffic? It was a drug trafficking movie.
You see that on it?
Yeah. Have you guys seen the movie?
Lady Life has seen it.
Lady Life seen it? There was a scene where the guy comes in and he replaces the old drug czar, and he comes in and he's a judge, and he's replacing a 5-star general, and he says, you've done a great job with eradication programs, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I think you've done a wonderful job. And he said, well, I appreciate your kind words, but at the end of the day, I don't think it made any difference. And he said, let me tell you a story. He said, when Khrushchev got forced out of power in Russia, he sat down and wrote 2 letters, and he handed them to a successor. And he said, the first time you get in trouble, read the first letter. It'll save your ass. Second time, read the second letter. Guy goes out, gets a little full of himself, gets chesty, starts talking noise, he gets in trouble, he gets checked, goes in front of the media. And before he goes, he opens up the first letter. The first letter says, blame Khrushchev. So I blame the old man. Everything worked out great. He said, the second time I screw up because I got a little chest here. I reach into the letter, convinced the second letter's going to save me. I open up the second letter and it says, sit down and write you 2 letters. and the whole point is you get one mulligan. We play golf. You don't get to say my bad twice. You get to say it once.
Now, don't make a habit of it.
But you better not make a habit of it, because they're looking to chop your legs out underneath you.
Yeah.
It's going to happen soon enough anyway.
And when you have really serious issues like this and you don't go and get help, then it has a way of making its way back up. It shows back up, whether it's abusive toward women, whether it's alcohol, drugs, inability to manage money, all these different pieces come up. But, you just really go out, and to, you look and say, man, why in the world would this guy do this? For what?
But that goes back to the self-loathing and the self-destructive nature that some of us have. Why would my dad choose to drink alcohol? I had the hardest time understanding why alcohol is a disease, because I said, if alcohol is a disease, why do you go buy it at the store? You don't buy leukemia. You don't buy cancer. I don't buy this crap.
Well, you buy an addiction, and that's what people don't understand.
Right. And it took me a long time to come to grips with that, because my thing was, this is a choice. You don't choose to have cancer.
And addiction. And when you start talking addiction and choice, that's a whole other animal.
Well, when it's addiction, you don't as much have a choice, and that's the whole thing.
Well, but exactly.
When I was early on, my point was that early on in the process, my thing was, why don't you just choose not to drink? Why don't you just, why are you making this complicated in your life, Dad? Because every time you drink, it screws things up. So why do you keep doing it?
Yep.
Well, why do girls marry 3 guys who are all the same guy? Why do guys marry 4 women that are all the same girl? Why do we do stupid things? That's why psychologists get rich and we pay them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because they can show a pattern and be able to move us around a little bit and get us confused on it. You threw another piece out there. Devin Funches, wide receiver with the Carolina Panthers, 3 years into the league. Manages himself, manages his whole process, his financial process, with a allowance of $8,000 a month.
I happened to see that clip today. It was really interesting when he said that. And what I'm hoping is he's just maxing out all of his investments and stuff like that, which I'm sure he is. I did the background on him. He's from Michigan. He's got to be an educated kid. He played 3 years, so he didn't just go. It's not like a one and done kid who's virtually an 18-year-old high school kid.
And he wasn't super educated, because you listen a little bit farther into the clip. on the deal was
Yeah,
the
the
first
taxes
time.
when he talked about I got cheated out of all this money, called up his financial advisor accusing him of stealing. Where's all this money at, man?
Yeah, where the money go? Who all these people going to? It was all these
Well, dude,
acronyms with this money and
How do you
stuff
think
assigned
this
to
works,
it.
you know?
Right.
You saw a Broke documentary, right, on ESPN?
Both.
The Broke documentary about the broke athletes?
Yeah, I guess I did.
30 for 30, and it's got
Yeah.
the part with Andre Rison. And Rison's talking about, he said, man, the first time I got my check, I looked on the back. I said, man, where's the rest of it at? So I went upstairs and asked him. He said, man, they talked to me about Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
What taxes are. Well,
Right. Yep. No, they won't come in and get it. So that's the whole piece on that. I thought that was a really good deal for the kid to have that level of conscience. 3 years into the league, 24 years old, and for him to understand that, does CAA sports get credit for that? Probably not. But somebody did. He talked a lot about his grandfather too, and I thought that was a good piece on it. But financial literacy is some of the things that we're not doing for athletes. We're not doing. We like to talk about some of the good things that we can do because there's plenty of bad, crazy stuff going on. We come back, we're gonna chop it up a little bit more and take a solid look at what else is going on in sports before we get to Basketball Thursday. Basketball Thursday with NBA Finals. We got picks to make tonight. We got all kinds of things. And as soon as we sign for the show, they're gonna tip it off.
let's do it.
Right there in Golden State. In the Bay. We'll be back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. Tom Inman, Alan Branch, Lady Life, and my main man, the Prince, Unnie, keeping us in between the lines. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. This particular segment was brought to you by Harlem Hotels. Put your money where you sleep. Take a look at the list and you'll understand better. Right back.
Harlem Hotels. Make money where you and millions of others spend money. Harlem Hotels Investment and Development Group's primary disciplines include hotel acquisitions, hotel development, hotel project management, as well as asset and partnership management. At Harlem Hotels, we invest in upscale focused service and extended stay hotel properties, mainly in Texas and other major urban markets. We are hotel owners, developers, investors, and asset managers persistent in our pursuit of successful ventures and passionate about our products. We provide nationally branded investment opportunities, including Hilton, Marriott, and Hyatt hotel franchises. Harlem Hotels strategically places the right product in the right location for the right customer. Get started with us today. Visit us online at www.harlemhotels.com. Harlem Hotels, put your money where you sleep.
That's the piece. Hey, here we are back here at the Lone Star Sports Show, sitting here at the break, chopping it up, getting a little perspective on it. My main man, Tom Inman, right here, freshly retired from Grand Prairie ISD. No more high school basketball coaching. All you do is play golf, drink beer, and eat barbecue sandwiches.
That don't suck. Come on, man, let's do it. 8 days a week.
Oh, well, that's hilarious. Yep. No, it makes sense. Unfortunately, we can find a few more things to get done right here on Tuesdays and Thursdays right here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Y'all hit subscribe out there on the Lone Star Sports Network on YouTube, and you'll get an alert every Tuesday and Thursday when we're coming back and when we're up and what's going on. So follow some of our social media things, understand what we're talking about. on a day-to-day basis and some of the things that we're exposed to right here in the great state of Texas and how Texas influences the rest of the world. But we were talking about, I'm about to say Jerry, because I actually know Jerry. I don't know Brian. But, Brian doing what he has done, his employees, will never be people like that. Some of the stuff that he violated there, they'll never look at that guy the same.
The front office people won't look at him the same.
Right.
There's nobody, because at the end of the day, he violated the sanctity of basically hypocrisy, because at the end of the day, you're always teaching compromise, conflict resolution, be man enough to tell people the truth, sacrifice for the team, blah, blah, blah. Well, wait a minute. So all that crap you said, hiding behind a doubly cowardly way to do it, not just hiding behind a computer screen or a phone, but hiding behind a fake name behind a computer screen behind a phone. Come on, man. If you feel that strongly about Joel Embiid, ask him to come sit down in the office and talk to him.
Right, yeah.
Grow a set.
And like I said on this whole deal, this had nothing to do with Joel Embiid and any of the other players there. This is a guy that was, and it probably will come out, this is a guy that has chosen to do some things that he just expressed as they were just pawns in his sickness. I meant that seriously today. When a guy makes a decision and you're in good shape, Dad.
Okay.
When a guy makes a decision to do something like this, it has nothing to do with what's going on around him. There's something internal going on, and they're just a victim.
Well, here's a question to ask yourself: who do you vent to? Like when I first got the Grand Prairie job and I hired my staff, I said, sit in this room and vent to all of us, and then walk out of the door and don't be a whiner, don't complain. Go tell everyone it's great when it's not. Lie your butt off. How you doing, man? I've never been better. If I was any better, I'd be twins. Lie. Just don't tell them the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. But who do you vent to? Obviously, he has no one to vent to, because he shouldn't be going home and venting to a computer. It's weak on so many fronts, and at the end of the day, it makes him look like a fool. He already looks like daddy's little boy.
Yep.
The guy was born on third base and acts like he hit a triple
because
his daddy's Jerry Colangelo. Well, that might not save his ass now, because right now Jerry Colangelo can't fix that eggshell, the metaphoric eggshell that just cracked, called trust.
Well, and the one thing that comes out is that I think his only chance is the insanity card, and then who wants a person that's unstable running a whole organization.
You're either too crazy to have the job, or I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know.
No,
you're too crazy to have the job, or you're too crooked to have the job. But either way, you got to be gone.
No, nobody's going to look at it. Players are not going to want to be there. Yeah, they're not going.
You're going to listen to a lecture from that guy 51 games through the season when he starts telling you about sacrificing, giving it up for the team, and all that other crap. You say, wait a minute. Or if you decide that you're going to talk behind his back and he's going to get pissed off, wait a minute, you were taking shots at us on Twitter, you weirdo. And I also talked to you today. I think it's a little bit of like a midlife crisis. I'm really proud of the fact that I don't understand social media. I know there's value in it.
Yeah,
I don't give a damn. I just don't give a damn. I don't care.
Because you haven't had a need to, And for me, in my interpretation, it's just a tool. It's not any different than
a business tool, but it's not you sitting around being bored and saying, Alan Branch has nothing better to do than defend his feelings about how good lunch was, or whether my neighbor's a jerk, or whether the dog crapped on the yard. Nobody cares, and nobody cares.
I hate checking Twitter, but I have to do it.
Right, for business, so you have a reason. So I think that's valid, just like I understand the value of us using Twitter. I understand the value of, there's a couple things I'm working on business-wise that I want to amplify. But as far as why do you...
It's a billboard. That's all it is. It's an electronic billboard that works, and you drive by and you say the billboard's working, and you look at it, just did.
No, it's just for, I don't know.
And they show that it's represented through impressions. I mean, it blew me away when I saw the number of impressions that many people looked at it. That's all that matters, And I mean, that's part of advertisement and marketing and all of that. But people that use it to represent who they are as individuals, to me, it's just like the gun thing. Social media isn't bad.
It's how you use it.
It's how you use it. It's the whole thing that comes down to it is smartphones are not for dumb people.
Right.
The people that make dumb decisions, because once you stick it out there, and I have some tweets, right? I have some screenshots in my phone right now, and I don't share it. Some guys that are playing in the NBA that when they were kids, they said some really, really dumb stuff. And I don't save it to share it. I never share it with anybody. Actually, the kids have grown up and turned into it. But what it lets me know is that kids need guidance. Kids need to have things pointed out to them.
Just this year, Josh Rosen did the same thing. Remember? They dug that out really, really late in the process. and they were already saying he's kind of a jerk, and then they kind of found that, and it leaves you open to how do you interpret that stuff, which. Like one of my pet peeves in the world is I hate the N-word. I hate it. I don't like to listen to anyone say it, black or white. And I just don't like it because I said at some point in time somebody's going to misinterpret it. Yep. Baron Brown is my old assistant coach, got the GP job, and his brother was playing pickup basketball one time, and the guy used the N-word, and he literally knocked the dude out. So there ain't been an N in my family since we stopped picking cotton, dude. And this is a black guy hitting a black guy.
Yep.
And I just tell people, I said, you can act like it's hip hop cool. No, it's not. It's vulgar.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean it just insinuates so many different things that are unpleasant, that are not right. That it's an insult.
Find a better word. That's one of my phrases. I just can't you find a better word of all the words in the English language? You got to focus on that one. Can't you find a better word?
No, it just means too much in the process.
But my point was to open yourself up to scrutiny by misinterpretations, and not to focus on the use of that word at all, but just the idea that when you say things like that, just like I heard a great line when I was an assistant coach, and Stan Hicks told me, I love Stan Hicks, and he said, Tom, don't ever say nothing to the media that negative. They already hear that crap at practice. He said, tell what you want them to hear, because if it's in the paper, it's the gospel.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, so why would I ever go after a game and start complaining and whining? Because that's just taking shots at kids, and that would be me. That would be being cowardly. But at least it would say head coach Tom Inman, and then you'd say, well, now I know who the jerk is. But behind an anonymous screen, you're a double coward.
And well, I mean, what's the day? About June the 1st. In 13 days, we'll be in Charlottesville, Virginia, and each and every one of these 100 to 110 kids are going to go through social media responsibility and accountability, and how you deal with the media and what you say and what you don't say. People need to learn how to take this stuff seriously. I mean, it's something that needs to be attended to. And, I haven't been down this road with you, I don't think ever, as well as we know each other. There's got to be, in the old school days, we did it. But now I think so much stuff has been lost in the instant gratification, speed, microwave generation. Everybody wants everything right now, that we don't take the time to look at it. But there's got to be a more holistic approach toward athletes, because everything that goes on sports, and you've heard it 1,000 times on this show, multiply it times 100. If the mailman gets a DUI, if the mailman slaps his wife, if the mailman kicks the dog, if the mailman does anything,
you don't read about it.
You don't read about it.
Right.
But when a wide receiver or a point guard or any of those guys, or a Major League Baseball player does something, everybody hears about it.
Well, I learned a valuable lesson a long time ago. I had a girlfriend I really thought at 25 I was going to marry, and she was crazy, and she made me crazier, and she would try to bait me into fights, and I would just tell her I'm not going there, and I'd walk out because I knew what was going to happen. You're gonna push me, I'm going to push back, and then all of a sudden, while I was defending myself, there's no defending yourself in domestic situations. Someone's going to jail. Yeah. You're going to jail, or I'm going to jail. Someone's going. And 90% of the time, it's going to be the dude. Don't kid yourself.
90% of the time, it's going to be the dude.
Right. Yeah. So don't kid yourself. So at the end of the day, you've got to be able to diffuse situations, not amplify situations.
And the question comes out, and I know we kind of off on a tangent a little bit, but it's a good tangent. The question comes, or the question we have to ask is, how good of a job are we doing with that?
Not good at all. Right. Because one of the biggest problems you have is you can't really monitor computer use. Just if I could have 30 seconds to diatribe. The American Medical Association now has a new disease called text neck, because people don't look at their phones like this. They look at their phone like this. So you take this 8 or 10 pound bowling ball. I got about 12 pound. I got a monster head, right? So I got 12 pounds. And I'm going to lay it over the front of my body and wonder why my head and my shoulders and my back
and neck hurt. Right. Yep.
Right. Okay. So then on top of that, it's literally, it's like ADD. I get so frustrated with my kids at school. I said, will you please, I hit my arm, spank it up a vein, old school heroin stuff. I said, will you please put your drugs away? It's going to be there in 60 seconds. Your bad music will still be there. Your girlfriend will still love you. It's not that important. No, and to me, it's so weak. It's so what it is, and we allow it.
Yeah, we allow it. It's a habit. We've sunk into it. We're looking at things, and at the end of the day, it's scary. And the reason that it's scary, because here's a guy like Brian that makes a choice and gets himself into this situation. That lets you know we have a problem.
Did you ever talk to Chris Beard about his what he did at Arkansas Little Rock, and he does at Tech now? When they sit down for a meal, they put their phone in a box.
Oh, yeah. I heard that. I actually spoke at
I love Chris for that. I said, man, I wish I could do that, but I probably would have to chop their fingers off. Yeah. And have to deal with their mothers who tell me you can't violate my little sonny boy's, civil rights.
Well, the first thing is that everybody puts it in. Actually, Beard didn't tell me that I was speaking over at participating in a round table with college coaches and over at UTA where Chris Ogden was on staff with Beard.
Right.
And we talked about that, and I was talking about the whole screenager thing and how, we were talking about talking on defense and just talking to teammates and forcing guys to talk and communicate with one another. And we living in a generation or in a time where even as adults, what percentage of content and things that we process in our brains come off of a screen? This show right here would be, and I got one for you right here. This show right here would be a lot less effective and a lot less entertaining, a lot less whatever if they couldn't go on there and get the visual.
If it was just radio.
If it was just radio, right. Let me listen and get the content, hear what they're saying, because the content isn't improved because there's a visual, but that's where we are.
Well, it's a dopamine thing, though. It really is. I mean, I just watched myself smacking my arm right there.
Yeah.
But it's the whole dopamine thing. If the biggest rush you get is related to a computer, you're going to go back to Pavlov's dog. What did Pavlov do? Started foaming when they heard the bell?
Yeah. I mean, and we just fall into it over and over and over again. I think we have to I think it starts with parents. I think it starts with coaches. I think it starts across the board. Are we going to have some level of balance? And first of all, you got to have a level of consciousness before you can get anywhere. Hey, Brian, I hope you get it figured out, man. Clown move. Probably need some help. Hope it all gets better. I don't know what you were complaining about or worrying about. It wasn't that bad. But we're right here at the Lone Star Sports Show. We're going to take a quick break. This particular segment was brought to you by the product of Fast Recruit. Fast Recruit is a product that is there at fastmodelsports.com. Go take a look and see how college coaches are utilizing Fast Recruit to track, monitor, and communicate with their prospective eligible prospects and recruits throughout the season, both the scholastic and club season. Fast Recruit is a very handy tool. Guess what? They also monitor social media on there, what kids are doing. Every time a kid tweets something, they got, and we'll talk about it when we come back from the show. It's pretty interesting. We'll be back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. You got Tom Inman, Alan Branch, Lady Life, and my main man, the Prince, Honey, keeping us where we're supposed to be. Back with more Lone Star Sports Show. Today's show is brought to you by Fast Model Sports. Hey, back here to the Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Y'all hit subscribe to YouTube right there where you get if you're a first-time listener. I know Tom has a few friends out there that are following him, trying to see what else he's doing in his retirement days. He's talk show host, a sports talk show host. But right before I went to break, I was getting ready to throw one of the pieces down to you. An interesting thing about Fast Recruit, and is that Fast Recruit has the ability that when I roll in there, and here it is, it's an app that sits here. You're a recruiting college coach, and you roll right over there. It is right there. Boom, pops up. And I don't have time to log in and show you all the deals. I can probably in the course of while we're talking at the same time. And when you look at it, and I how about that, boy? I tell you, technology now it recognizes my face. Go figure that one out.
Big time.
And pops
Big time, big boy.
Facial recognition. That sped the whole process up. Now you roll right over here to a recruit, and we won't call in names for the sake of deal right there. Now we go over here. We can keep up with everything he does. Anytime he puts anything out or anybody says anything about him, that college coach gets an alert.
Well, it's funny because I taught economics at Grand Prairie High School, and I love my students, right? And what I told these guys is I said, when you apply to a college or when you got a job, almost across the board anymore, they screen your social media account.
First thing they go to.
Right, and I was talking to one of my ex-players who's in the Army, does some black ops stuff that's kind of borderline not crooked, but, the stuff I can't talk about stuff. Mm-hmm. And I told them one time, I said the thing about the I just told my own story. What was I just saying? I'm an idiot. Go on, man. What was I saying about Zast Appeal? There was a point about I'll get to it. Never mind.
Yeah,
dumbass.
Yeah, and the thing is, and that the sun got my man a little bit out there today.
Woke up at 4:00 in the morning to work in the yard like an idiot.
Right, but the whole thing comes back down to it. And you're exactly right. And I remember, what was it called? MySpace. That was the first social media that came out. I was still coaching then, and I had a kid that missed a scholarship because he on his MySpace page, he was sitting there. Well, I had two kids that dealt with some crazy stuff. One of them was a cold beard, 17 years old, underage of drinking, and had an issue. And I mean, he still haven't had a good career and going on with scholarship. They had another dude that was just absolutely nuts that I was trying to save back in the old days, that he's hanging out with some of his gang buddies. And he throws out about
signs,
throwing signs, $10,000 on the bed, automatic weapons, and a naked broad on his MySpace page.
Well, I did finish that. So what I was asked to was, I said, if they did a background check, I mean, they'd think that I was like a spook out of the CIA, that I dropped out of the air because there was nothing there.
Yeah.
And almost nobody has no profile. Me and Kornheiser and Barkley, but everyone else does. And when they find it, they're going to dig and they're going to figure out what you're really about. Because when you go to the interview, you always got your best tie on, your best behavior, you got your resume.
Yeah,
that's the real you. The real you is the automatic weapons, the $10,000, and throwing the signs.
Yeah, and so, I mean, and that's what you feel good about.
Well, but the thing that bothers me is, do you think that you're living, like I always ask people, I said, are you living in a phone booth or are you living in a closet? Now, nobody even knows what a phone booth is anymore, but when you're living in a phone booth, it's glass. People can see into it.
Right.
And when you're an athlete, you're always living in the phone booth. You're never living in the closet. So at the end of the day, why do you do this yourself?
But that has to be a skill set.
Right. You have to teach them to have the
how
self-control.
How to manage that.
Self-control.
And I give the NBA National Basketball Players Association, NBPA Association, they work pretty hard at doing it. But I mean, I think it's an ongoing management process, and goes back to what got us on this subject. Other than the choices that Brian made, there is a holistic approach toward athletes and looking at them. They're more than the dunk. They're more than the touchdown. They're more than the home run. Right. They're human beings that, you just said it, they have to live in this telephone booth, or we equip them and teaching them how to live in it and making them conscious of it.
Well, and I think that one of the things we need to teach more than anything is the realistic likelihood of them ever making $1 from basketball, because at the end of the day, everyone thinks they're going to the league, and they're not going to the league. And there's 300 people that play in the NBA, including foreigners, for God's sake.
But here's the thing: we do that all the time. it's like the 236 guys we put their name in the draft for. We'll go figure that one out.
For 60 spots that are going to turn into maybe 35 to 40 real jobs.
Right.
Half the second round will make it. Half the second round will go to Europe.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty accurate, statistically pretty accurate. But the point still comes back to it. I don't care how good of a player you are still going to have 40, if God blesses you to have a normal lifespan, you are still going to have 40 years to live without sports. Now, What are you going to do?
Right.
So you got to teach functionality. You got to teach accountability. You got to teach the ability to live in society and be a decent human being.
Well, and to show empathy and compassion to the players, ask yourself one question, Alan, and both, lady and Unnie. If you were 25 years old, you had unlimited money and all kinds of time and all kinds of people kissing your butt and all kinds of people want to be around you, would you really be strong enough? because I've gotten strong, but I got strong when I was in my 40s. I was an idiot when I was in my 30s. Anyone out there knows me. Anyone that ever knew Tom Emma when I was before 40 years old will tell you I'm a way bigger idiot than I was now. I'm still kind of an idiot, but are you kidding me? But think about how hard it would be to discipline yourself. Go home at night.
Well, and that's the point. I'm not saying that they should have it, but you have to create a certain support mechanism around. Adults that are 40 and 50 years old have support groups where they're trying to lose weight, where they're trying to stop smoking, where they have an alcohol problem. Everybody has support groups.
You want to hear a great story?
It's called accountability towards
was,
another human being.
Barron was telling me a story one time that 16 years ago when he was working in the Irving ISD, he had a guy come that he knew that was a lawyer from Oak Cliff. The guy comes in, he talks to all the kids, and he walks in wearing a nice suit, and this guy smelled of money. So he walks in, he says, got a $100 bill, pop, pop. I'll give it to the first guy that can guess what I do for a living. Man, you a rapper. Man, you an agent. Nobody said a lawyer. And the whole point is, until you know a lawyer as a role model, until you know something, and we're all functions of our backgrounds. I thought everyone worked in a glass factory in out of Illinois, like Youngstown, Ohio. It's one of these crappy little factory towns. And if you think that the entire world is that crappy little factory town, well, then it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all you see and know. But it goes back to what I'm getting at is, we know all the problems, we know all the symptoms, we know all the issues, but nobody's concerned or having any sense of accountability. And then when things happen, then we say, oh, man, God, I can't believe that happened.
Well, how many opportunistic people do you have who there's like a sliding scale of morality? I want to help you more because you're 6'9" and long and you got a shot. And then you've kind of forgotten about, like I was talking to you about my nephew. Kabongo gets forgotten as soon as he doesn't get drafted. Those people who swore this is for life, well, now I can't even get a return a text because – well, go out on a limb here. They're a little disingenuous. No shit. Come on, dude. That's how it works around here.
It's the reality. It still goes back to another thing is, when are we going to start taking a holistic sit-down approach with these kids? Coach, and you're in the business, or have been in the business for a long period of time. And as long as you've been in the business, you understand the fact that basketball is we spend an incredible amount of time with these kids. We have the ability to be an incredible amount of influence with these kids. I mean, nothing's more than the time that you spend riding in the car with them, sitting over here with them, on the road with them, over here.
Getting a burger on the way home.
All this talking time. And we've got to take a level of consciousness with it. And I look at the grassroots guys. Okay, you bring a team in. Everybody comes in at 5 o'clock. You're going to be a part of my camp this year. You get to see some of the stuff, how much time we spend. And now from Wednesday until Sunday at roughly 3, 4, 5 o'clock, you count the hours. There's going to be hotel time. There's going to be all these different things going on. And see, the problem that I have, and I include myself in being a part of this deal, if we play all of this basketball, can there not be 8 minutes here, financial literacy, 12 minutes here, accountability with the opposite sex? But nobody's interested. But we still keep on being disappointed by what we see happening.
And what you're saying is logical, but here's the problem. Like I was talking to Burkhead when he went to the NFLPA thing where they, Herm Edwards gets out and talk to you about what's about to happen in your life. And you still got guys who get drunk the night before. You still got guys who can't get up. You got guys who stub out a blunt on the way down to the meeting. And I mean, as much as you want to try to lead the horse to water, metaphorically, you can't make him drink. You can drown his head in the water trying, but and I'll never stop trying because it's difficult. That's the hard part, because you can't get discouraged and give up on it.
No, and that's exactly right. But my point is that, in all my years, and I think you can relate to this, of coaching and mentoring and being a part of kids, I lost some, but how many did I help and how many did you save?
If you ask yourself, if you were a lawyer or if you were filling out forms at an insurance company or you were renting cars or whatever, how many people would you truly impact? Because it means a lot to me is like the keeping in touch with a lot of my ex-players, and particularly the Plano kids. We've stayed real close. That means a lot more to me. I mean, if we had in one state, I wouldn't call them any less. It wouldn't mean any less to me, right? But
it comes down. I mean, our experiences create bonds, and we have to utilize our bonds to be a positive influence.
Well, you hope you can educate him. You were talking today about Full, so I'm wearing my VT stuff, for Joe. And he's going to be up at Grayson with Scott Monarch. And I love Joe like my son. I always have loved Joseph Fulls. I hope I'm embarrassing the crap out of you, Joe. But the reality of it is I'm also going to hold him to a standard, which you better get your damn master's degree and finish it by August, because Buzz ain't going to hold your hand forever.
Yeah.
And Aria needs a dad. But the whole point was I was telling him this at 14. He didn't yet have his little girl named Aria. He didn't yet know he was going to Grayson. But he knew he needed to grow up and raise his kids, because I tell everyone, we all think we're going to the NBA. I played against Isaiah Thomas in high school. I'm sure he buried me, but you know, we were both going to the league, and then we weren't. Okay, well, what's your next plan?
That's exactly right, and that's what it comes down to, and that's what it is, and what we have to look at, you know, in all of this stuff is getting it where it needs to be, and having a sense of accountability into it, and you know, all the things to do. But moving along, I don't want to get stuck. There's so many things that spin off of that situation, and we got plenty of basketball here on Basketball Thursday. That's an outside the line issue. I'm gonna roll back into some gridiron time. At the exception of this show, roughly probably December the 15th, go check it, I embarked on when Colin Kaepernick first took his knee. And I told Snoop Johnson and I told Lady Life, it was just the three of us sitting in a little cubby hole over on the other side of town starting to do show. The show was like the second or third or fourth show or whatever. I said, man, this is going way farther. No, it'll blow over. It won't be that big of a deal. And Lady is my witness. You know, it was a serious deal, and we've gotten to it. So we're gonna come back, and I want to ask you some questions and get some perspective. We talked about it a little bit today at golf, but we didn't get a real good look at it. We come back. NFL anthem versus protest. What is this thing is all about? What are all the pieces? America's history of protest. What is the anthem all about? What does the anthem mean? You know, that's the whole deal. Go Google it, look it up. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. This particular segment was brought to you by the Lone Star Top 100 Camp, July the 11th through the 12th, right there at Drive Nation Arena in Irving, Texas, right there on the grounds of the DFW not municipal airport, or DFW International Airport. Be a very convenient place to get into things. Known in history, you go Google, take a look, go to Instagram and look at some of the past action that has taken place there, the number of prospects that have played in that event, the alumni of that event. We'll see you in 180 seconds back. We're going to take a look at this whole anthem protest thing and see where America really is. Back in 180 seconds. Hey, here we are back here at the Lone Star Sports Show. Tom Inman, Alan Branch, Lady Life, and Uneven Money, the Prince, keeping it pointed in the right direction. Anthem protests. What is it all about? What are we looking at? What are we dealing at? What's going on? You know, when I read the anthem, when I read the lyrics of the anthem, you hear all of these things about home, a country, But the two words that stand out to me, other than in God, in God is our trust, the two words that stand out to me are free and brave. Those are the two words that stand out to me in the process. And I was thinking about this when I was riding back today, and I was thinking about the anthem. You grew up in a blue collar city, Chicago, where they have labor unions. Right. And those guys strike and they protest when they feel like they're not being treated right. Does that have anything to do with their patriotic nature to this country?
Nothing at all. In fact, we were talking today. I hope I didn't interrupt you, but we were talking on the golf course. And what really frustrates me is I'm a really smart person, and my mind really operates quickly, and I know when I'm being hustled. And the whole narrative has been co-opted because really what happened is you're taking what you say. What I know, it's about police brutality. You know that, and I know that.
Right.
And it's about protesting that. And trying to do it in a dignified manner, kind of like Tommy Smith and John Carlos. They didn't do anything vulgar. They put their head down. They put their black fist down. They put their hand up, and they did it at great peril. Right? They did it at great peril. And the whole thing that comes down, there's so many situations where I think like these guys are you going to put yourself in peril at your own risk? Or are you going to put yourself in peril after you're if I was Colin Kaepernick, I probably wouldn't have done it until I was done playing, and I have to admire him for that. I really have to admire him.
Does it have the same effect? But I want to revert back because I'm not disappointed. Is that why is it a situation where when you get protests, when you get a situation that happens like this, why does nobody ever talk about, well, what are they upset about?
Right. They're just upset that you're upset.
Yeah, they're just upset that you're upset and you saying something about being upset.
How dare you be upset about whatever you're upset about?
And who cares what you're upset about? How dare you act like that because you're upset? We don't give a damn about you being upset. The mere fact is that you do what you're supposed to do, and we might take a look at your upset.
All right, I'm going to use a word that I wrote this down right here. And this is an old 60s, 70s word, okay? Acting uppity. That's a way of saying you're out of your place.
Yeah.
And if you get right down to it, what happens is there's a lot of pissed off $50,000 a year factory workers back in Ottawa, Illinois, where I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio, or unemployed ones because they never adjusted their skill set. And they think he's an uppity, and then I don't want to use that word because we're going down that path.
Because
he has the audacity to, how dare you not just be humble and get on your knees and do whatever I say because you make $1 million. Look, when Michael Jackson made $50 million for making a good album or a bad album, no one told him what to do. He had to stand or sit. And at the end of the day, what it comes down to, I'm going to get political. Donald Trump's an embarrassment to the United States of America. He's an embarrassment to the truth. He's an embarrassment to white people. And most importantly, he's an embarrassment to the First Amendment because he wouldn't know the truth if it bit him on his fake ass hair.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the crazy part is that, you want to go over there to him. He goes in after this process there and he hijacks it for
political gain.
Gain.
And that's my point. So he co-opts the narrative, and the narrative started as police brutality. But when you take the predisposition for a lot of white people to be racist and to be offended by the uppity black men who should be happy that they make this kind of money, and then you add in that factor, what do you got? Now he's singing to the choir. And what he likes doing, he likes the power. I'd still like to see his tax return because I don't think he's worth $1 billion. I think he's full of shit.
Right.
And at the end of the day, what he's doing is he's trying to show how much juice he's got. And what really bothers me is there nobody? I mean, I don't like to use the word plantation mentality, and that's not about the race. It's about the
mentality. It's the structure,
the master
labor
relationship,
the structure of how slavery and how plantations operated. I never want to say sports because I don't want to ever discredit what took place in slavery, and we look at the Holocaust.
I don't want to say war. This isn't war. It isn't slavery. It's just a game, for Christ's sake.
Right.
Let's get too full of ourselves.
Right. No doubt. And you're exactly right. That's a great point. I totally agree with you 110%. But I still have a problem with the fact is that you have people that manipulate the lack of intelligence of a particular group of Americans and turn their whole direction away from what the issue is. As long as there were poor people that were marching around and talking about what happened to this kid, happened to that kid, it wasn't a big deal. As soon as it was put on a stage and was fueled by millionaires, whoa, y'all better stop right there. You just crossed the line.
You wonder something funny though? My grandfather, I love my grandpa, and he grew up on the south side of Chicago, lived his whole life. He thought he was really getting active when he crossed the Indiana border, right? And my grandpa used to register dead people to vote. It's not a joke. It really registered dead people to vote. They'd go to the obituaries, they'd figure out where dead people voted, they'd just rig the elections, right? And at the end of the day, my grandpa said the reason we could do this is because the old political axiom with the Democrats and the machine politics in Chicago is 85% of all Americans are idiots. They are. I mean, when it comes to the intellectual understanding of what they're being told, like,
and when you use that term, I know exactly what you're saying. They're ignorant, and people always get offended when you call them ignorant. All ignorant means is
I don't know.
You have I mean, we all are ignorant about something.
Sure,
but we all get offended by that term. And basically, what it's saying is people don't care enough about politics to figure out what did happen or didn't happen.
Well, and the other thing too is I got a buddy of mine, Brian. I hoop you're watching, Brian. Me and Brian have been friends for 30 years. Okay, and he and I agree on almost everything. Very liberal at everything. But every once in a while, ever since Trump's gotten elected, we'll have issues that really they start as social issues that they drift into red meat issues. And I said, man, listen to us. I said, we're intelligent people, we're educated people, and this is the perfect example. They throw a piece of red meat out there. Like national security is a euphemism for immigration. We all know that. That's what we're talking about here. Give me a break, right? So you can take a piece of red meat like that and throw it between two intellectual people, and we'll do what a dog will do between a red meat piece. We'll fight each other to death.
Right, exactly.
Because we want to win, and we have a president who thinks he's got to win instead of we win.
But he wins, we don't win. Throwing the red meat issues out there, all they do is distract from the real issues.
It's a deflection issue.
It's a deflection deal, right? It's a deflection move, and that really kind of comes around. I didn't think I could get here this fast. That really comes around. That's what really upsets and chaps my ass about this whole process is that we're sitting and talking, and then, and you want to know how fast they want to brush this under. Okay, we know what we're going to do. No collective bargaining agreement, no players association. We're finna make a rule. When's the last time in Major League Baseball, NBA basketball, or National Football deal did you come and create a rule and implement something, and the players have no input?
Well, it's kind of like why can a check cashing place charge 55% because they don't charge a percentage, they charge a fee. It's semantics. It's a euphemism.
Right.
You split the hair and call it something different.
Right.
Do what you want to do anyway.
Do what you want to do anyway. And they pull that stunt. So now they came out, and anybody feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. They made a rule says that, well, no more protests on the field. If you feel like you don't want to be a part of the anthem, then you just stay in the locker room. Well, what you've done there is that you have deflected away from everything was about the protest. But why is it, and I started this conversation of why is, okay, you came from Chicago, Illinois, you grew up there, you saw all that, you're familiar with all the unions. Every time those guys were striking, the first thing you want to figure out, well, what is it they want? That's what a protest is all about.
Right.
It's not about black power, it's not about the fist, it's not about taking a knee. What's wrong? But
that's based on the premise you care.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
And there's the problem.
I can't argue with that.
There's your rub, because if you don't care, you're just going to let us blow smoke at you. Like, I heard someone talking about how black people need to get over slavery. I said, they don't tell Jewish people to get over the Holocaust. You don't tell Irish people to get over the potato famine.
Yeah.
You don't tell the Thai people to get over, the killing fields. I mean, don't tell people what to get over. I mean, at the end of the day,
it's not about getting over it. It's about getting along with it.
No, but it's about moving through it.
Getting along, right? Yeah, moving, right? I agree.
You want to hear a great story? I heard this one time, right? There was a guy who worked with a group of seriously abused women. They were the girls who got serially raped their whole life. They had huge trust issues, and they said that when they dealt with them, what they said to women that broke the ice and really let them break the ice and communicate is something that works really well in racial relationships. You know what it was? Something really simple. They'd say to the girl, if a man would walk up to these girls, it would be visceral. They'd flinch. They'd say something real simple. I'm really sorry that you ever had to go through and see what you saw. That is disarmingly open, and it opens up a dialogue. Because I don't know what it's like to be black. So my wife's African. I'm not black. That don't mean crap. I mean, I could be the enlightened white man, but I'm not the only enlightened white man.
Right.
Get over that.
But the thing still comes back to it is that, and you just said they don't care, but beyond do they not care, they said shut up and be quiet. And
wasn't it funny? You're supposed to shut up and dribble. Remember that lady who said that to LeBron? Shut up and dribble?
Right.
Stick to basketball because you're a basketball player? Well, how about politicians stick to politics?
Yeah.
How about worrying about our budget and stop worrying about this idiotic wall that's never going to get built, you moron?
Yeah. And it's just nuts of how people continuously want to come. And I look at this anthem protest thing about the deal. We spent more time arguing about that, and when you look at the anthem, the main thing comes out of it is free and brave. Well, if you're in a free country, brave people
will tell the truth.
Thank you. I rest my case.
Can I tell a quick story?
Go ahead.
Eric Zastapil was a white kid that played, a 6'7" white kid that played on my state championship team in 2006. He went
Eric
to West
what now?
Point. Eric Zastapil.
Oh, yeah.
Zast went and played for Jim Cruz at West Point. When he got done, he got his leg blown off. He went into the infantry, which is against all odds because you could have gone to any job you wanted. You could have been the softest Pentagon job in the world. I said, Zast, are you an idiot? He goes, Coach, that's what I do. So he gets his leg blown off. I think he's going to die, and he doesn't. And he survives and everything. He's got a prosthesis on his leg. So last summer, me and my wife went to the wedding, and on the way up, there was about a 40-minute drive. And I always like to predict outcomes just to see if it makes me think and intellectually challenging. And I was telling her, I said, I will bet you right now, I'll bet you dinner that when we talk to Zast, he'll say, I fought for the right for you to kneel, just like I fought for you the right to stand. I don't give a damn. Yep. And that's exactly what he said.
Yep.
I lost my leg. Who are you to say Donald Trump?
Right.
He lost his leg for it.
Yeah. And that's that's what you get all the way out of it. And that's the idiotic thing as we get ready to go to a break here is that's the idiotic thing toward the whole process. How can we in 21st century America allow something like this to transpire like this and work and function like this and then act like, just fall for it? It's just the whole deal. Is how do we fall for it? Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. This particular segment was brought to you by Hartem Hotels. Hartem Hotels right there in the Bayou City of Houston. Put your money where you sleep. Take a look and a listen. And also go take a look at HartemHotels.com. Investment and development company located right in the Bayou City of Houston, Texas. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. Tom Emlin, Alan Branch, Lady Life, and Honey the Prince. Back here, as my main man Stoop Johnson used to say, at the top of the hour. As my main man Snoop Johnson used to say at the top of the hour right here at 7 o'clock on the Lone Star Sports Show, brought to you by the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by Fast Small Sports. Fast Small Sports located in Chicago, Illinois. Right there on Michigan Avenue.
That means they're paying big rent.
Yeah. Right there in the Windy City with the water blowing out. I never even thought about that. We got to swap some stories about that.
Just making some money.
Spending some time in it. Well, thank God they care enough about the Lone Star Sports Show to send a little bit down here every now and then.
See the value of Texas sports, obviously.
Yeah, that's the whole deal. We got 23 Division I schools.
Man.
That's potentially 23 clients at X number. You got it? There you go. You get working in.
Get out the checkbook.
Technology is going a whole different way in so many ways, so fast, and this thing is going. And the technology is not bad. It's like anything else. It's when it gets misused.
Right.
That's where the struggle is. I thought we did a good job there. I'm not going to vent anymore about the protest, but when it actually came down with this last NFL deal, I didn't do anything with it because we were so caught up. Like you say, these little short 24-hour, 36-hour news cycles that we live in these days, it kind of got in and out without getting any attention. So I had to get my piece in on it. And that's what I've been feeling all the way since at least probably January of 2018. And a lot of people, everybody was just caught up in the semantics of it.
Well, I admire Kaepernick. I wrote some names down of the people that I've always admired for taking a stand. Muhammad Ali and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Jim Brown. Muhammad Ali, refused to go into the war. That's a big statement, and he did it at great personal risk. And I really admire him. But that was at an activist time in our era. And right now, I make a note to myself. I don't know if you guys know what the Gilded Age is. I barely knew what it was till somebody made a reference. The Gilded Age was back in the late 1800s, early 1900s when the robber barons got rich, the Vanderbilts and the Rockefellers and all this stuff. And we're kind of going back to the Gilded Age 2.0, and it's all because of Trump and his hypocritical, amoral
very, very
Republicans.
interesting perspective, and it's a fair, in my opinion, there's a fair amount of legitimacy in what you're saying.
And so I wrote down the Gilded Age 2.0. But I have enough faith in America as a confirmed optimistic cynic. Contradiction in terms, right? I'm an optimistic cynic, but I believe America. I believe in America. I believe that we have faith in America. We've been through worse than this. Trump's going to come and go. These fugazi Republicans are going to get voted out of office, and then we'll get crooked Democrats, and it'll all keep going. It doesn't make a difference anyway.
For whatever it is, or totally away from politics, for Barack Obama to be elected the president of the United States of America, you always have to say, it can't get done here. So even when you get the least, and when you lose all faith, and when it looks like everything going to hell in the handbasket, this country continuously always has a way of rebounding and finding this way. The real reality of the truth comes out, in the whole wash.
What was the movie that Forrest Whitaker starred in where he was the butler in the White House? I'm losing it. I watch it almost every year.
Yeah.
Can you help me out?
No, nobody can help you. It was the butler.
All right, the butler. Okay,
it was the butler, right.
Right. And the butler, there was a tremendous perspective on America because it showed him go through all these horrible things. It showed him ride the high spots, the low spots. And at the end, I'll never forget that part when he said, Lewis, come on down here. Lewis, come on down. And he's crying. Never thought I'd live to see today.
Yep.
And it was a really cool day. And what I told my kids, what really bothers me is I feel like we're moving backwards, and that's the cynical, optimistic cynic. But the optimistic says, no, we'll get through it because we've been through worse. Well, so I grew up in the Watergate era. I grew up watching all this crooked crap. I'm
you and I both did. We
right.
We know that. They don't remember any of that. Reason why our listeners would, but the point is that what you always see in life is that most of us have to take one step back to take two steps forward. There has to be some challenge. There has to be some regression. There has to be some altercation. There has to be some things. That's the only way progress happens.
Right. Well, that's what they discovered about that statement about, I'm sorry that you had to see that. We have to break that ice to get through that point. So if the breaking the ice is taking a step back and humbling ourselves so we can move forward 2 steps, then it's worth doing. Yeah. But it takes a lot of courage because most people don't have courage.
It is. And we get ready to go in with Basketball Thursday, and we've been through a lot of politics and, social issues and stuff. The one thing I respect LeBron James for, he's one of my top 5 players of all times love LeBron, you are a GOAT, greatest of all time in the top 5, is that his social consciousness.
Yeah, I agree with that. He does.
You can't knock him, Tom, no matter way you want to look at it. No professional athlete of his magnitude, more or less, or whatever, has taken more of a social stance about what's right and what's wrong.
I agree, and it's funny because I talked to a friend of mine, and he took the cynical approach. Well, LeBron's got $100 million shoe contract. He can afford to stand his ground. I said, there's a lot of people who make money who don't stand the
Who
ground.
don't stand the ground.
Just because he chooses to stand his ground with a little cushion doesn't mean he's not doing the right thing.
Hey, Tom, it's not about whether or not he can afford to. It's what he chooses to do.
Right, exactly.
You know, that's what I would say to your friend. I mean, the hell with what he can afford to do. A lot of us can afford to do a lot more than we do. But what do we choose to do? The choice we take.
I never made $100,000 in my life, and I still think every day of actively protecting my ass. Right? So you think just because he's got $100 million when his bills are 10,000 times mine that he suddenly is going to sit there and be flippant about his career? He's doing that at peril.
No.
There's peril to him doing that. There's peril for Kaepernick. And what's the biggest difference? Colin Kaepernick is not as good a football player as LeBron is a basketball player.
Yeah.
And that's why I really respect him for taking a stand.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, how much did Muhammad Ali lose? You know, when he took the stance that he took.
Oh, in today's dollars, I wouldn't. That'd be a good thing to research at a break or something. But
I
at the
mean,
end
Tommy
of the day,
Smith and Carlos, you know, they gave up a medal.
Yeah. Well, then that's my point is that that's the one step backward and take two steps forward. And I really felt like we were making a lot of progress. And you know what I asked my kids at school? I used to, it bothers me about the immigration issue. I try to get off the politics, but our immigration policies always stunk because when white people were following other white people, the white people didn't matter. And then in the 80s, brown people started coming in. So the white people turned back around and didn't like what they saw. You know what I said to my kids? I said, well, y'all about 50 years old, and the next wave of immigrants comes in, whatever they look like. If they don't look like you, don't treat them like crap. Remember that day how that person treated you. You don't want to be there, so don't be that way. Well, remember, you came through that door and leave that door open. Immigration's a one-way, not a one-way street. It's a two-way street.
And all you see in this whole situation is, and we're gonna get into basketball Thursday and start really chopping it up and breaking it down here. All you see in this situation, Tom, is the fact that you know, the one step back to take two steps forward. You know what that's called? Sacrifice.
Well, and we're from a generation of people who don't want to deal with adversity. You know, I heard a great quote where they talked about helicopter parents. You know, the parents that hover over the mess. Yeah. Well, the new one now, they call them lawnmower parents. They're the ones who mow down all obstacles so the little honey doesn't get anything on the shoes.
We talk about that all the time because we spend so much time dealing with youth, and we're trying to create this situation. But, you know, I mean, there's consequences to all of that.
Well, you know, if there was one thing that I really admired about how we grew up as kids was it was okay to fail. Nobody blamed the messenger for the message. Tom's not a Division I basketball player. Okay, well then go to college.
Yeah, go on with the rest of it.
Move on.
Yeah.
But the idea that we're going to bully the coach and get the coach fired, or we're going to get a group of people together, like you know, without naming names, we don't need to do that. But you know, there's been a few lynching type of, you know, poaching type of coaching firings where they weren't generated by anything that was based on the sport. They were based on the politics. Parent of the backup quarterback who thought they had a right to start because they run your booster club.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And that's exactly what you're looking at. Looking at a beautiful picture of the Lone Star Challenge. Actually, Lone Star Top 100 Camp, July the 11th and 12th.
Lady Life, you do great work, sister.
Yeah, that's a tremendous deal there. But excited about that all coming down. But basketball Thursday right here. NBA final start tonight. Yeah, we got to make some picks. We got to defend our picks. Ani said he was willing to go first. I'm going to reverse. That's how you change it up on like the teacher used to do in class. You know, he looked down there and think, well, it ain't gonna happen until 7:45. I'm just going to turn around, reach down and get the 7:45 move.
I'm ready.
You ready? Okay, there we go. We got to start back there. You picked Houston in the Celtics.
In 7, I picked Houston in 7. I was close.
You lost your point guard, so I'll give you a little reprieve there. Could have been interesting, but go ahead.
See, you guys thought they're gonna be done in 5, so
yeah, I think I might call it 5.
What'd you pick in the East?
I picked Boston in 6.
Okay,
yeah,
that's a decent pick.
Yeah, 0-2.
So what do you got for this? What do you got for the finals?
See, I'm not gonna lose anymore, so I'm gonna go Golden State in 6.
Golden State in 6. We're going to start talking about. We're going back and throw this stuff out. I got Golden State in 5. And then we'll circle back around and talk about why. Which way you going, Tom?
Well, it's going to.
We'll let you go last because you new guy.
Well, I'm going to sound like a parrot and everything, but I all day long I said Golden State in 5. So let's enrich the bet. Let's go game by game because I'm going to say game 1 Golden State because I don't think the Cleveland can win in Golden State. There's too much flash, too much. I don't think they're good enough to win game 2. I think game 3 Cleveland wins on the bounce homecoming. And I think they turn back around and crap on themselves in game 4 or lose. So now you're 3-1. They go home and close in 5 because Steve Kerr is going to remind Draymond all those idiots. We don't need to go to 7.
Right. We don't.
7.
You know, last time you got 7, you lost the whole series. Right. Yeah. And I totally agree. That's funny. And obviously we've already discussed this, so I'll be fair about it. You know, we both agreed on that. Now the real tricky thing is, you know what bothers me? Game 1.
Yeah, I was about to say. I feel Cleveland's going to win game 1.
Do you?
Then lose 2 and 3. to win Game 4.
Okay, yeah. The burst I'm saying on 3, you're saying they'll get in 1. I could see that. Have some time to rest. You get a lot of, we're all ready to rock and roll. But the one thing I analyze it a lot. You guys do obviously, but I think how the role players play. Like during the Cleveland-Boston series, the Boston role players were terrible in Cleveland, and the Cleveland role players are terrible in Boston. And who's going to stabilize on the road?
Let me ask you a basketball question, and you got 2 minutes to answer it. Lady Light just threw it all out there. You got 2 minutes to answer this question. Okay. Why is it that Kevin Love is so belittled and so underappreciated and so underrated? Where he's carried franchise, he's probably a career 20-10 guy. There's somewhere there close and about.
I'm gonna have to try to be as objective as I can because I don't care much for him. I think he's soft. That's my biggest beef. Is I just think he's soft. Yeah, and the other thing is, I was laughing with one of my buddies. I said, you know what they called a stretch four back in Chicago? A sissy. A harder word. He's a sissy. Yeah. There was no stretch four. I worked at Nike camp the year after we won state, right? And I had a kid named Costa Kofis. Costa, big Greek kid that plays somewhere in the league still.
That's back when Nike camp was bad.
Yeah, it was awesome. I worked the last 140 years. The last year they had 140. And Costa would never step inside the three-point line. Well, he made a lot of money doing it, but that doesn't mean it makes you anything but a soft basketball player.
And that make it right.
No, so to Kevin Love, I don't know. You'd like to think he could post up and dominate more. You'd like to think he'd rebound a little more. I think the two issues with me isn't so much the heart, but he gets injured a lot, and he doesn't rebound consistently. Right. That's where they need help. They need help on the boards. Him and Tristan have got to be worth 20 to 25 rebounds every single night, and they're not. Some nights they're good for 8 and 10, and that's not good enough.
Well, that's totally not good enough.
You can't expect LeBron to do every damn thing.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to chop this thing up. We're going to talk about shooters and makers, and we're going to analyze and look and see where this thing might be really going. Right here on Basketball Thursday, Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. This particular segment was brought to you by the Lone Star Showcase. Showcase will be taking care of NCAA certified right there at Drive Nation. Go take a look at what's going on at TexasGrassrootsBasketball.org, NCAA BBCS site. There'll be really a whole lot of stuff going on coming right into the month of July. You got 15 days to show college coaches you can play or can't play. Back in 180 seconds with more on Lone Star Sports Show. Hey, here we are back here at the Lone Star Sports Show, brought to you by Lone Star Sports Network. Lone Star Sports Network title sponsor is FastMallSports.com. Go take a look at FastMallSports.com and see how they are leading basketball into the 21st century through the vehicle of technology. Back here, came up with an interesting question. We're going to do it on the air. And one of the questions, if you had a choice, and you're sitting there, Steve Kerr, general manager, the whole operation there in the Bay, and you got a decision of whether you got to take Clay or you got to take Steph. You know, and my instant response was when the deal was is that I wanted to go Clay, and Clay won unanimously at the break when we threw that out there. And in hindsight, looking back at it, backing up off of that, I'm going to be the minority in the studio here tonight and go Steph. And you say why? I think I agree with everything you said. He's bigger. You know, Clay Thompson is bigger. I think they're equal jump shooters. But I think the ability to create and manage the basketball, and I'm going to put this one on you, Tom. Okay. And I used to hear Snoop Johnson say this all the time. He said, you got to have enough guys on your team, especially a high school team and a college team. He started with Villanova. They can dribble to the left, dribble to the right, and make a decision. And when you extract that out of the situation and your primary ball, one of your primary ball handlers have been put in a situation, I think that your ability to manipulate the defense, make the defense make choices and things of this nature, you know, Steph, everything that Clay is going to do to help you win this game tonight is he's going to defend, right? And, you know, a lot better than some of the guys down in Houston do. They're not too favored that shoot a lot of jump shots, right? He's going to defend, he's going to make shots, and he's going to play with a good, solid IQ. But the one thing about it is, and this is your boy, Buzz Williams. He's come up with this word, one of the first time I ever heard the word used, paint touches. Yeah. They get paint touches up. And I will give you one thing. I'm not going to concede, but what I would say is this. I wrote the words force help. When I got John Robertson come play for me, if I had the point guard that forced help, I beat one guy. Now we're playing 5-on-4, so somebody's open. Somebody's open. That's all basketball is all about.
That's all it is.
He calls it force help. I call it paint touches. You make the defense break down and make a choice or decision. Right. Now do you have someone intelligent enough to recognize where the help came from? Right, because basically, you know, Clay's a catch and shoot guy, and Steph's a little more of a creator. So it's not really a very fair question because actually they're perfect complements to each other. They are, but no, it was a fair question because it tests one's basketball IQ, in my opinion. Right. Because you're making a choice between two really good players. Right. Yeah, you can't go wrong. I mean, you just and one of the reasons I mean, you know, and this is one of the things that Snoop Johnson and I used to do real good. We used to argue and debate really well with no conscience about it, and I'm sure we'll get there too, Coach, is that I disagree with that. They complement each other. I 100% agree with that. Right. But at the same time, you know, when you start talking about what you want to lose and what you don't want to lose, and you got to make a sacrifice, you got to make a choice, the ability to manage the game. The Rockets possibly would have won the basketball game with Chris Paul. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying Steph is pure point guard as Chris Paul is, but, you know, okay, I saw you in a state championship game. Game was probably a little bit closer than you wanted to be, right? Yes or no? Okay, I thought I remember that. You know, especially when you don't make free throws down the stretch. I'm making his ulcer turn over now. We won by 2 in overtime, missed 6 free throws in a row, and Nick Wise rims out a 3 that was halfway below the rim, went around twice. That was it. I mean, the deepest I have ever seen a basketball in my life. Hey, look, whoever's watching the show is watching it on YouTube. If you're really interested, go type in Nick Wise final shot. And watch this because there's no way I can't even believe it. But anyway, point being, a little tighter than I wanted. Yeah, right. And but when it came down to who won the game, sure enough, making the free throws and all that right there, but a responsible, accountable ball handlers were extremely important. Right, guys that could make decisions. We run spread offense, so I'm really big on that. I mean, I want guys who can handle the basketball.
beat someone off the dribble, paint, touch, throw for the lob, the whole thing.
Yeah, because it makes people move.
Right.
That's what Steph does.
Yeah.
That Clay doesn't give you.
Right, I agree with that. Man, I'm kind of curious to see if the ebbs and flows of the officiating in the NBA is going to come back, because it's so soft now. You can't touch anybody. I mean, and I'm not trying to crack on
It just is what it is,
Right.
you know. But I mean, and that's when we come back to talking about
the reason I say that is if you can start beating up Steph, if you start adding age to a change in officiating, you can start taking some of that stuff away. That's all I'm saying.
But they're not going back, because you got to realize, okay, let's stop and look at this situation. And we off on a tangent here, but it's a fair, decent one. Why did they take the physicality out of the game? Why did they stop hand checking? Why did they stop the arm bar?
Open up offense. Score
Open
more.
up offense. Score
Right,
more,
exactly.
Be more entertaining.
All rule changes in football and basketball have been to the benefit of offense.
And always to the benefit of entertainment.
If you watch Charles
Which does what? $1.
right. If you and I sat down with Charles Barkley and a bunch of guys from that era, they would rip these guys for
Of course, with the
style.
old rules, so
Come
they would foul out in the first quarter.
Do you remember the famous when Kurt Rambis clothesline, or Mikhail clothesline Rambis?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean,
When Bird called him a bunch of sissies, different word, and he clotheslined him. He got 2 free throws out of that. They didn't throw him out of the game.
no, but I mean that's the whole deal. I mean, and you know, people. This is one thing I don't want to be the old guy that does this. Is that, you know, guys want to sit and say, well, back then they did it like this. Well, we're not back then. We do it like this now.
Right.
So I think you have to look at history, learn from history, and understand the present,
Right.
and go from there. But you know, if the referees, I mean, that was one way to swing the game. You know, that makes that a bad choice. What I made, if you're gonna let guys start knocking Steph around, because he's not the most durable guy in the
Right.
world. But according to the rules and where, I never will forget the first time they changed the rules. It must have been like in the first noticeable change you saw in 2011 or 12 or something like right along there. And I was watching a preseason college game in person. Those guys shot so many free throws. And I'm talking like 46, 47 free throws were being shot.
And when we were younger, you were shooting 15 to 22 because they weren't calling us stuff. You know, I was talking to an official one time. Floyd Woods is an old friend of mine. I'm sure when I play golf with you guys over there, I'll run into some of the other guys. But we talk about hand checking. And I say, the reason you can't allow any kind of hand checking whatsoever, if I can steer your hip, I can control your body.
Yeah.
There's no way you can't
those
let me
guys-
touch a guy's hip or I'll own him.
Those guys were really good at that. And the guys that were strong enough to fight through that, oh man, I was just talking to a guy down in Atlanta the other day that played at a really high level, and he was just talking about when he first got to the NBA, how those guys could take the backside,
Right here, straight arm.
right, and just hook you across your hip and just guide you. And
You know how they teach an offensive lineman to hold, right? You get your hands in and extend your arms.
Yeah.
Right? So that will control a body. You think if they get a straight arm and you start arm barring and steering them?
right, and now you got a guy, you got a young, immature guy, say someone like the kid from North Carolina that was just playing with the Celtics the other day, Tatum, you know, who Tatum's Duke, Tatum's Duke guy, right. Yeah, you take a young kid like Tatum, and that hasn't matured into his man body.
Right.
What would he do against one of those big, strong, old 27, 28-year-old guys?
Get eaten alive.
Yeah, he'll eat alive, you know, and that's a big part of it. So it's about the rules, but I mean, I thought that was a great question, you know, the choice of which one would you rather be left without of, and I think when it goes down the stretch, I mean, I'm going with Steph.
Yeah, well, I don't think you go wrong here. That's a win or a win.
Well, I mean, it's not,
yeah,
and I don't even think it's about going wrong. It's just for the whole entertainment of, you know, you show your perspective, I share my perspective.
I like length. That's my number one thing. He's 6'7" with long arms, and love his quick release.
Yeah, right, and there's no doubt about it.
But he doesn't create for others. He creates for himself.
Right, and there's no doubt about it. When you're building a team, you want to build a team with length and do this and do that. But you're building a team for a season and for a deal. We're talking about making a decision of who we got to go with tonight.
Right.
You know, and over the next 7 days. I mean, the next 7 games. If there are 7 games, I'm predicting 5. But you know, I got a question, Coach.
So,
And I sent the thing over to you, but you probably didn't have time to read it, so you're gonna get surprised. But you probably have already read it.
actually, I did. Go ahead.
Tom Emlin is coaching the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm gonna sit back. You tell me, how do you get it done?
If I'm coaching Cleveland,
You're making a whole lot of money, so we expect you to give a good effort. You got the best player on the planet.
here's one of my arguments. Zone's allowed in the NBA, right? It's illegal to play zone.
Well,
Rick Carlisle won a championship in 2011 because he ran a zone against Cleveland, and that was back when LeBron didn't realize that when you have a 5'9" Puerto Rican guy and you shouldn't shoot fadeaway jumpers. The next year was the year he decided. Yeah, or was it? He was with Miami, right? But that was the year when he basically was shooting fadeaways over Berea because they were matching him up in matchups on. They kind of
Berea's a little kid that played over in actually played for the Rockets. Played over in Louisiana, right? Yeah, right.
All right. So anyway, when what was it saying about Berea? I'm sorry.
That he was shooting fadeaways.
Okay, so what they did is they hit him in his zone. And my argument is this: if you're so technical about the defensive rules in the NBA, where you're calling illegal defenses, it's really hard because you have to sit at the lane line, not the mid line. So ball reversals, it's hard to close back out and get control. Why don't you just run a zone?
Well, I mean, you can run one. I mean, there's a certain way. I mean,
you got more built-in help.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, they're great shooters, but let's be honest: if they shoot as well as they're going to shoot, you're going to lose anyway. I'm going to try to. I want to play as fast as I possibly can, as well as we can rebound, but that's one of our deficiencies. So you're going to have to play better defense. I need every single person, every single time, to bust your ass end to end from defense to or for offense to defense.
Offense to defense.
I was listening to Brian Windhorst, who I love listening to. Right, he's a guy.
I know Brian. There's an NBA car, ESPN car.
Man, Windhorst is good, and he was talking about something. And he said, I have a problem with this. He goes, how on earth does Cleveland come out in Game 1 and Game 2 as flat as they came out? Then, if you remember Game 3, they came out and tore it up. And I watched J.R. Smith actually act like he cared. I saw Kevin Love sprint. Like, wait a minute, they must have like evil twins because they're doing the things that real players do every night. And so my question is, who are we going to get? If you'll give us that effort, you'll rebound. We can push. If we can push, we can get away from the set defense, attack the rim. They don't have a legitimate shot blocker. Attack the rim and get to the free throw line. Let's play as fast as we can, shorten the game, and get it in LeBron's hands late. Make some shots. Let's go.
We'll talk about it a little bit more. Got some thoughts on all of that. Getting down, winding down. We're getting in the paint right here at the Lone Star Sports Show on the Lone Star Sports Network. Got yours truly, Alan Branch. Got my new guest host and hopefully soon to be permanent host, Tom Inman, in here chopping it up on Basketball Thursday. Lady Life over there keeping all the technology where it's supposed to be, making the pictures show up and making the whistles pop and blow. My main man, Unnie, keeping us in between the lines. The Prince. Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. This particular segment was brought to you by Hartem Hotels. Hartem Hotels leading us into the 21st century of understanding how we can invest and be a part of our daily process of all the things that are going on. Go take a look at Hartem Hotels development investments and see how they're building hotels and how you can be a part of. Everybody spends a night in a hotel sooner or later. So why not put your money where you sleep? Take a look at the list and we'll be back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. Back here at the Lone Star Sports Show, getting down into it. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. We're right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. Lone Star Sports Network has some new things coming up with some of the stuff. You'll hear more of some of the advertisements that'll be going on in the next few shows about some of the things that are coming in, how Lone Star Sports Network is going to be on site participating in a few things that are actually happening out there. But we were breaking it down, looking at it right here on Basketball Thursday. We got a situation, and in the United States of America, we have a problem with ever saying never. Is there a real never to this? Probably not.
Never's a long time.
It's not going to happen in the next 7 games. But we like to look at when you start. Is there any value? Is there any value in Cleveland shortening this game?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, I was just talking. We were talking during the break, and we did the math. There's 30 possessions per quarter, right? If you milk every 24 seconds, 12 possessions, 12 minutes, 2.5 possessions per minute. So you got 60 possessions in the half, right? And you're gonna have to get 30 each.
Okay.
Why would you want to give somebody 32 possessions or 34 possessions or 36 possessions? I'm not saying play not to lose, because that's one of the delicate balances of basketball. Because I've always been, if I get the ball with a 7-point lead, we're spreading. It's a wrap. Forget it. Because if you got good decision makers, you can't guard it anyway.
Well,
right?
that goes back to why I'm taking. There we go. All right, I'll keep on going.
But you're still managing the clock. And when you quick shoot, if you have a great three and you quick shoot and miss it, you're helping the opponent. If you quick shoot a three and you make it, you're still kind of helping the opponent, because you're sort of getting into that fool's gold mindset. And at some point in time, I just think that ball reversals are way more important than penetrating pitches. And it tends to work clock.
No,
it tends to make you
I got one
5.
for you.
What's that?
Ball reversals create opportunities.
Absolutely.
To attack. Right.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Okay. Well, if you watch Jason Tatum as a good example, the rip moves he gets on ball reversals, he'll be on the opposite wing. The ball will go wing to top,
the most
top
vulnerable
to wing,
place.
boom, rip, go.
Right.
One dribble dunk.
But that's when the opportunity is created. I mean,
but you see, that's again why would I think about playing zone if I'm Cleveland, if I'm Ty Lue, is because on that rip now, Iguodala's not getting that, and Klay Thompson's not getting that, and Kevin Durant's not getting that. Because I think I don't know if you'd agree with this, but I've always had a philosophy that basketball, when a team sees man-to-man defense, they tend to isolate the mismatches, and they play north and south to the rim. When teams see zone, they tend to play east and west, and they tend to think jump shots. And that's why
they stare at it.
Right, exactly. They get a little tentative.
It breaks their rhythm. They get a little tentative. They get lulled.
So I don't know why you wouldn't think about at least trying that. I mean,
they kind of help you with the shortening the game of the process. You know what I mean?
And if you've got some guys who are uncommitted defenders, I mean, I don't think anyone who's watching this show would argue that Kyle Korver is a horrible defender. Kevin Love's a horrible defender. J.R. Smith is a bad defender when he tries, and he's horrific when he doesn't try. And at the end of the day, you can hide bad defenders better in a zone. You got more built-in help. I'm not saying it's the answer, but if you want to get a little gimmicky, because you could change tempo by going man to zone and zone to man, but what you can't do is try to change tempo by playing fast, because if you play fast, you're giving dunks and wide open threes to Golden State. You'll get buried. You'll end up playing faster and worse.
Well, I mean, no, you're right. You're exactly right. The question I asked was just, it was a possibility. Is there any value in the situation? We all feel and believe what we feel and believe, or we're going to be disappointed. Let me ask you another question. And we talked about this, and actually it was one of our technical staff people. I want to identify him to protect the innocent. Came up with a
think I know who this is.
yeah, you point out. You can point out. Call for however that goes. But and Ani may Google this. What is the advertisement value per night, per game, of a NBA Finals deal?
I might actually know that, because we used to do a project on Super Bowls. All right, Super Bowl was $5 million a minute for an ad. So I'm going to guess on an NBA
2.5?
Final, 2.5. Let's say 2.5. Okay. So you go. You probably got about 8 or 10 advertising minutes per hour.
There you go.
Okay, right. 8 to 10 times 2.5. You got $20 million an hour. You're going to make an extra $30 to $40 million on advertising. You got your tickets. You got your parking. You've got your concessions. You've got all your gear. You got all that stuff. It's got to be a $50 million flip.
Okay, so at $50 million is shorten the process up enough to look at a situation where it makes sense to drag it along.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine. We were talking about that Game 5 when Draymond Green got suspended for Game 6, I believe it was, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And what ended up happening was it was like holding a tee, which is when a guy gets mad at you early in the game, waits for the last 30 seconds, and sticks you at the worst time, right? They did that to Draymond. I don't think they did it because they wanted Golden State to lose and Cleveland to win. I think they just wanted to extend the series, and no one ever really saw LeBron winning Game 7 in Golden State. Okay, so I think there's always a value. I grew up with a conspiracy theory, and I don't believe in all conspiracies, but I don't think Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy, and I do believe that the NBA used to fly in Dick Pavetta to stretch series. Go back and watch Sacramento, LA Lakers. I mean, that's all you got to do is take a look at that one. And at the end of the day, there's so much money. I'll never trust it to be straight up. Can't.
It says in 2015, a 30-second commercial was $439,000.
30, so that's approximately $1 million a minute. 3 years ago, $1.5 million probably, probably $1.5 million.
Right.
And every time, LeBron's always in it, so that's not an X factor. That's a constant.
So I mean that's what we're hoping for, and I mean and we'll when it all breaks down and all comes down to reality, we've all given our deals. We got Lady Life didn't even get a chance to vote. They didn't even put Lady Life on the voting list. Lady Life, you got a chance to vote. Who's going? Give me your angle on it.
I'm gonna go Warriors 6 games.
Warriors 6. You got to explain 6 games. 6 games is a little bit of an awkward kind of a deal. Yeah, I mean that means that
they won one in Golden State.
So I'm gonna give myself up. I believe that the NBA wants to make some money. So they're gonna.
The NBA is interested in making money.
Yeah.
How they will to go about it.
They'll drag it out a little bit.
Drag it out a little bit. Okay. But with the guys in Golden, I see where this thing is going on this deal now. So the guys in Golden State don't want to drag it out enough to be caught into a Game 7. So they're gonna blow the conspiracy.
Well, the old boxing line was when you got a guy in the ropes, you got to knock him out. Because if you don't knock him out, he might come back and knock you out.
Right.
And you got to knock him out and take him out when you got a chance.
Yeah. So they're not going to play with that. They're not going to play with that, and we can see that and understand that, and feel totally comfortable with that. Shooters and makers. Everybody runs around and says he's a shooter. He's a shooter. I got a shooter. I want to know where the makers are. Obviously, Golden State are makers. The question is, I think that throws the game into a little bit of a whirl or a little bit more competitive situation than we expect. See, we're victims of the moment. The last thing that we remember about the Golden State Warriors is how they just blew through in that third quarter against the Houston Rockets. And they've done it numerous times all year long. But that's the last thing on the deal. We don't remember the last time Golden State lost. We don't remember the last time Golden State struggled. We don't remember the first quarter when they weren't shooting it very well. We that's where we are. Like one of my buddies down south in the Bayou City says, we remember we don't remember what we had for breakfast. We remember only what we had for lunch. And
wow, that's good.
Yeah, no, it's just short deal. He's in the same business. And he said, Brent, I'm not going over there spending all this time doing this, doing that. Only thing they're going to remember is the last few minutes, and they saw me and I was there. They don't know what time I got there. They don't know what time I left.
It's funny. I was getting ready to say one of the things that concerns me about Golden State is I think their kryptonite is they get boredom. They get bored. I've watched Kevin Durant has been disturbingly weird in the first half of Games 6 and 7. And I'm all for the idea that, okay, you play the first half to get to the second half and all that. But on the other hand, don't think that motivation and momentum is a light switch. You don't just flip it on and all of a sudden we're right back to, it's a, if you mess with, my dad used to always say, if you're skating on thin ice, skate faster. Right? And if you're skating on thin ice, meaning that you're going to put it to the second half, you can't consistently go down double figures and expect always to come back. That's all I'm saying.
We got an interesting thing going on here. A lot of people have voted, but there's more people than the people in here, and that's interesting. Everybody, it sounds like the way the vote is going, I'm pretty good with math pretty fast. It sounds like me and everybody else took Steph Curry, and everybody else in the room besides me took Klay Thompson.
We still got 23 hours.
I always like to be in front. I always like to be in start.
Hey.
Yeah. So, but
I just think that you're flirting with disaster because at some point in time, what's going to happen when you don't have that big bust out third quarter? Because what I would have really liked to see more than anything, and I made a comment Tuesday night about where I think there's a disconnect between James Harden and Chris Paul because I don't give a damn Chris Paul wasn't playing. Chris Paul was in those huddles, and Chris Paul was looking in the eye and saying, man, slow this game down. We need to get people's touches. But the whole idea that we're just going to play as fast as we can and hope that the clock runs out before our lead does is stupid.
No, it's past stupid, and it's obvious that there's some kind of issue with the deal because when you look at that team, there couldn't be any other leadership, nobody else that's going to step forward. Look around at the roster.
Hey, I got a question for you. Let's all place a side bet on whether Chris Paul re-signs with Houston. I'm going to say no. You know why? Just the same thing. I knew Kevin Durant wasn't going to go back to Oklahoma City because I watched Russell Westbrook freeze him out in that last game. I don't think he wants to go back and deal with that crap.
Well, and the older you get, the less tolerant you get of BS.
Oh yeah, and James Harden is a millennial. Chris Paul's a grumpy old man. He's like Uncle Drew almost.
Yeah,
you know.
Right. No, there's no doubt about it. I don't see him going back. I don't know where he goes, and I hate it because I think he likes Houston. I think he likes the opportunity and what could be there. And it's kind of like, unfortunately, when you get to a point of divorce, you look and you wish it could work, but it can't
right.
work.
Well, and I was just getting ready to say something along those same lines. There's got to be something that Chris Paul is seeing when he's sitting there saying, D'Antoni's soft. He won't address issues. I can't fix it. Hell with this. I'm out of here, man.
And that's exactly what you got. And you can't get around it. And that's where you're going. That's what you're looking at. And there's just not a way around it. There's just not a way around it. But we're right here at the Lone Star Sports Show. We're getting ready to fall into the final segment of what's going on. And we're going to come back and look a little bit more. This game is ticking on down. Everybody will be good and warmed up and got a good sweat going on out there in the bay right now. Get ready to get it going. It'll be interesting to see how it breaks down and looks at it. We looked at Chance, Tom coaching the deal. We're going to come back. Well, I don't want to belittle. I saved the best for last. Going to give my main man, Bron, the respect that he deserves. Lone Star Sports Show, Lone Star Sports Network. We're going to come back and break the truth of it down. I know all y'all Bron lovers out there are excited to hear this, but it's going to be the truth. So don't get too excited now. Don't think Mr. Branson fell off the wagon on this whole deal. But we're going to look at it real good in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. We go to the final segment. Today's show is brought to you by FastModelSports.com. This particular segment was brought to you by Fast Recruit. Took a look at FastModelSports.com and hit down and look at all the different pieces that they offer in the deal, and take a good look at Fast Recruit. Fast Recruit allowing college coaches, Division I coaches to track prospects, manage prospects, communicate with prospects in a very high-tech way. Back in 180 seconds with more Lone Star Sports Show. I know you're getting pretty accurate there. Lone Star Sports Show right here on the Lone Star Sports Network. I see him. I got a second hand over there. I see exactly what's going on. You don't trick me too many times. I've been by and see exactly what's going on. About 3 times in a row, they hit it right on the nose. So they got something ticking over there. They got more than just minutes. They got seconds on us.
Got to give them a raise, man.
Yeah. We got telephone books back there. We're gonna put both of their chairs. We're gonna raise them up a little bit.
That's old school, man. Yeah. You learned that at barbershop.
Sit up a little high. Raise them. Man, I got a funny feeling. I just went in there and turned the game on. The pregame is going on. I just got a funny feeling about this thing, man. You know, LeBron, you have made it to Alan Branch's top 4. You know, I mean, I am not ignoring the greatness, the biggest impact. You have more impact on a team or your team or any team than anybody else that's playing as an individual in the game right now.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Yeah, I mean, there's nobody that comes up with the biggest blocks, manages the statistics, with all the social manipulation and what do you call it? Controlling the narratives, all of that. I know why he does that. You're guilty of that, LeBron. You're obviously guilty of that, and it makes you dollars and cents to control a narrative. You know, it's like the stock market. You know, we're going to control when we release things because we want to release it at the most opportune time,
right, exactly,
to make the most money or to raise our profit margins as high as we can. And you know, with all of those things, and I'm not even knocking you on that, any of that, because you've answered the bell over and over and over again. The problem with LeBron is sometimes he gets too smart for his own good.
Yeah, he outthinks himself.
Yeah, he outthinks himself. Now, he's not outthinking himself as far as Wells Fargo or Bank of America or wherever.
No, on the court. Yeah, I think you're talking about on the court, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, right. Yeah, on the court. Exactly.
Right, that's where he's overthinking.
Yeah, right, because all that's coming back right. The money lining up just like it needs to line up. But when you get caught in these situations and you don't have that cutthroat killer instinct where you don't care. One of the things, did you say this the other day, or maybe I heard it multiple times? You said this off the air. I guess you said it off the air. I've heard it multiple times in our conversations. Michael Jordan never gave a damn or cared what anybody thought.
No, I said that. He didn't give a damn what you thought about him.
No, he could care less.
He'd laugh at you if you like, do you think I care?
Right, yeah.
Come on,
exactly.
dude.
And I don't know if that's good or bad. I think off the court and social impact and all these different things, I think it's great. But when it comes to that guy that you want to go in the alley with, and when I say alley, I don't mean necessarily literal alley, but I'm talking about the alley of a overtime, double overtime, right. Game 7, tough situation.
Right.
You know, you can't be distracted. This is my problem with LeBron. You can't be distracted with controlling narratives when you're dealing with in a competitive situation. You can't. Have you ever had a player that's on your team? You coached enough years, I'm sure you did, that had a certain social status at school.
Oh yeah.
And they spent as much time worried about what you thought, or worried about what everybody else thought, as they did what you thought and what the outcome of the situation was.
No, it's
major
really,
distraction.
It's really difficult. You hate to, because the distraction. That's a famous word the NFL coaches use. They hate anything's a distraction. Don't my coffee's late is a distraction.
Yeah, right. What's the rhythm?
Some distractions are okay, but when you get distracted off your focus, because like at the end of the day, I mean, I get on LeBron about not coming off the ball more, but at the end of the day, he probably should dominate the ball, because at the end of the day, he's their best player. And I think there's times when he overshares the ball. And I'm not saying he should just take over and be Russell Westbrook, because that would take away from what LeBron does so well. But there's sometimes, like he does one thing that Jordan did. He involves people and he shows trust in them even when they haven't verified it. They haven't, they haven't justified the faith. But it's going to be okay, man. It's going to be okay. We'll get through it, that kind of thing. Right? But at the end of the day, sometimes he just needs to take it over and stop being so damn nice.
Now, why does LeBron chase off, run off the talent around him? I mean,
I think he's an asshole off the court. I think he's very difficult. When Jordan was that way, but also ask yourself this question: in the days of Jordan, you didn't have the free agency options you had these days. So if you hated Michael Jordan and you couldn't leave, well, suck it up and deal with it.
Deal with it. I think that definitely is a legitimate reason for saying that that would be a reason why not, but that they couldn't do anything about it.
Right.
But I think I think that guys knew then. This guy, I think the guys respected his no nonsense, cutthroat. They knew they could count on him, and I feel like that in the times that we're living now, 21st century, that was 20th century,
Right.
Two different centuries. How
Right,
about
right.
that? I think in the time that we're living in now, the ability to coexist. I mean, how good was Scottie Pippen?
Really good.
Right. Okay.
Really, really
Right.
good.
No.
But here's what bothers me. When Jordan had a problem with you, he'd sit down with you.
Mm-hmm.
You might fight, but you might go eat pizza. You might have a burger afterwards, and everything's going to be okay. Like the old school fussing on the playground stuff. And with LeBron, I think what bothers
We got to go buy suits, and we got to have all these.
we also like a bunch of robots. But what bothers me the most when I watch LeBron is you want to take credit for getting these guys these contracts.
Or he starts shooting out these old crazy tweets, and you're not quite sure what he means.
Right, that's my point. So he muddies the water because on one hand he wants the credit for getting. He used to mock Tristan Thompson. Man, you ain't worth the damn. There were times that he would criticize him publicly, which Jordan didn't do, and he would do that at the same time that he was taking credit for getting him that contract. And that's why I was telling you that I think sometimes LeBron's priorities is more pissing off and costing Dan Gilbert millions of dollars than necessarily getting the right players together to win a championship. I think he calls them out, puts them on blast. I think it pisses them off.
Well, I think what goes on with that situation is that guys don't see a genuine win at all costs agenda or motive with LeBron.
He's had one foot out the door all year.
Yeah, I think they always feel like they don't feel real loyal. This dude is not always bought in, but he wants to come in here and handle us. And then, then you got Kyrie that just ups and walks out the door, and he never does anything to try to. How many sit downs is supposed to be? I haven't heard that there was one-on-one sit down between Kyrie. Now we'll never know, but pretty reliable sources say that there weren't.
But you bring up a good point. And I was telling some of our players, we watched our kids pick a team one day, and I used to really believe up until about 10 years ago that if you watch kids pick a team, they'll almost always pick them almost exactly like you do. Boys are very, very honest. I watched this and I said, y'all, where's the crack pipe? You guys must be smoking crack because this was idiotic. I can't believe that and I went through some of the
Because they
different
picked it probably for
They picked
social
their buddies,
purposes.
exactly.
Right.
So and my point to them was, like, let's just say you and Unnie. If Unnie's my best friend and I think you're an ass and you're a better player, I'm taking you. I want to kick Unnie's butt. Well, I'll have burgers later, but I'm playing to win because you had to win to keep the court.
But the difference is that if you told them loser was going to run, they've been picking teams a little bit different.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
You know, consequences, and that's one of the biggest things that comes down to it is that the reward off the court is so much bigger than the consequences of losing on the court.
I know.
Until it's going to always taint the process. I mean, now right now, I feel like the reward is tied to championships, and when the reward is tied to championships, then you're going to get a little bit different effect. You're going to get a little bit different angle, a little bit different look at it right now, and that's one of the things. Is Golden State a great team? They're just the best team right now.
Yeah, best team now.
Is LeBron James a great player? He's the greatest player right now, and he's one of the greatest players to ever play.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. But the problem is when you talk about player, talent, achievement, what they're able to do, what they're able to produce over and over and over again, that's one thing. But, I mean, you said it best. Never will get close to it.
6'6", no sevens.
Yeah, and the problem that I have is that I still kill him on the clutch gene. Everybody wants to say LeBron is clutch. Well, look at how many buzzer beaters that are there that tie the game, or excuse me, that are a situation where you're going to be tied and go to overtime anyway.
If you miss, right. Not down one, but tied. That's a different shot.
That's a different shot.
Different shot, yeah.
That's a different shot. When you break that down, it's really lopsided. And we've looked at it and talked about it before. But that's what causes the problem with me with having him is because, he's just not that person. He's a great talent. I saw the kid when he was like 14, 15 years old. And I mean, he was huge and tremendous then. I mean, all in the context of being 14 years old.
Right.
But, when you come up in a modern grassroots world where it's all about your brand, that's all it is.
Yeah.
And it's all about your brand, and you got to continuously promote and manage your brand, and your success is not going to be measured and predicated on championships and winning and losing, but it's about how you perform as an individual and how the world conceives you as a deal.
Well, I wrote a note to myself. When you ask a guy, like in the draft process, how much does winning matter? And of course, they're all going to tell you it's everything. Okay, but the thing I love about the playoffs, you're playing for rings and things, and you find out who's a real competitor. Because some guys, if they lose, they don't care. Russell Westbrook ain't losing no sleep. He's still managing his brand and selling his wimpy clothes that don't fit and all that crap he does.
Yeah,
but he don't matter to him. He's not losing no damn sleep because he didn't win a ring.
Not losing.
But there are some guys out there that are still beat their heads into a wall over it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't matter enough, you won't do enough. And the converse of that is, if it matters enough, you will do enough.
That's right.
You'll do enough. You'll do what it takes. I mean, there are things in my life that are important to me. I make the sacrifice, and I give 120% because I don't want to sit there and talk to you later about how it didn't work out because I didn't try hard, because that's not acceptable.
And that's it all day long. Any way you want to look at it, however you want to break it down. Man, today's show is brought to you by Fast Small Sports. We're going to get us a good, solid head start in here to go and see how right we are. We got them in 5. I got them in 5. Ladies going to say they're going to make 6. Honey's got it in 5.
I had 6.
Oh, you had 6? Okay. You ain't switched up on your late life.
No,
late life. I thought you had it a strange 5.
I had a 6. I said Cleveland was going to win game 1 and game 4.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So that can give you 6.
You guys know what the money odds on the series are, by the way?
Oh man, I left that whole piece out. But it's going to be more bets. There's no money. Nobody's betting on the game.
Right.
I mean, toss $100 over there and see what happens. Whatever $100 is to you, and see what happens. But you got to. It takes $1,300 to win.
Yeah, the series odds are you got to risk between $1,100 and $1,300 to win $100.
Yeah.
And if you want to bet Cleveland, you can bet $100 to get back $1,000, but you're not going to win, so you may as well just burn the $100 bill and light a cigarette.
No, everything is on the bet. Who's going to score this first? Who's going to do this?
Those prop bets, proposition bets, right?
Prop bets, right? Yeah, everything's on prop bets. We know how that gambling thing is going right, and everybody's getting lined up. Everybody go tee it up. We'll see exactly how we are and where we are when we come back next week. This week we got Under Armour in town doing some things. Today's show is brought to you by FastSmallSports.com. Go take over to Duncanville Fieldhouse and look at what Under Armour is doing with the Camp Next right there. Opportunity to be a part of their national camp. That's a huge piece there. That's going to be my one outing this weekend that I'm going to be with, taking a look at some of the young kids, picking prospects for the Cream of the Crop camp that will happen August the 18th through and 19th, right before school. Is an opportunity for you to come. Actually, yours truly is probably going to be a speaker at that camp of what kids should be expected when their first day of high school as an incoming student athlete and being part of a program. But we're right here at the Lone Star Sports Show. We get ready to check out. Lone Star Sports Network brought us this whole process, all funded and helped and supported through FastSmallSports.com. Got Lady Life, Under Your Money. My new man right here on my left, getting it all figured out. And on your right, Tom Inman right there, freshly retired, giving us a fresh perspective, and yours truly. We'll see you next week. Have a good weekend.